Welcome back. You're still watching NC Continental Prime. We have more stories for you. Police in Uganda say they have detained a 28-year-old man entering a church in the capital Kampala with an explosive device he planned to use for an attack there. Authorities were hunting 3 other men also believed to have been sent on similar bombing missions elsewhere in Uganda. The motives were unclear, but the Islamic State-linked Allied Democratic Forces have previously carried out deadly bomb attacks in Uganda. The ADF was originally a Ugandan rebel group, but was routed more than 2 decades ago and fled into the jungles of the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, where they have been based since. The detainee, Kintu Ibrahim, was about to enter a Pentecostal church, Lubaga Miracle Centre, in the Lubaga suburb of South Kampala. Well, joining us now to look at this development is Dr. David Matsanga, an African Affairs analyst. He'll help us unpack all of this. Doctor, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for inviting me to this show, and thank you very much, listeners across the world and in the continent of Africa. Thank you.
Dr. Matsanga, we have discovered, and you just heard from the news, it's been announced that a man was arrested today while trying to detonate a bomb in a church in Uganda. Not one of the countries we're used to hearing such from. What is your take on this?
First of all, I would like to thank the Ugandan security agencies, internal security, the police, the army, and all civil apparatus of security for having averted this type of terror, this type of barbaric acts of terrorism in our country. Thank you very much, the security forces of Uganda. But the problem of our situation in the East Africa and in Africa in general is until we liberate Congo, until we get Congo back to a working situation, until we get all the rebel groups, 130 rebel groups are in the neighboring Congo, and they have taken a refuge there. They come from there to attack our innocent people across our country. I want to thank the security agencies for the good job they did.
Doc, Uganda is facing challenges of insecurity. We've been used to hearing about the Lord's Resistance Army and Joseph Kony, but the challenges have continued despite that being in the past, especially this confrontation between the army and the Allied Democratic Forces. How do you think this can be resolved?
For us, the Lord's Resistance Army and the government of Uganda struck a deal. I was the chief negotiator. I was the chairman and the leader of the peace delegation that went with peace negotiators. We under the auspices of UN, African Union, East African Community, IGAD, and all agencies in the world, the British government and other people helped us to hammer an agreement, ended the war 15 years ago. And since that time, there has never been any acts of terrorism, any acts of banditry. There will be definitely hunger, poverty, and whatever it is. The war in northern Uganda ended, and I thank President Museveni and the people of South Sudan for having helped the Ugandan people to end that war in northern Uganda. The problem of this one, of the ADF, is they have never been serious to come on table. They have no alternative. They have no views of coming to nobody. Maybe they has tried to get them on table so that we resolve this conflict once and for all. Therefore, they have taken refuge into DRC Congo, where the Ugandan army has successfully routed out most of their outposts. And as we see, they are on the run, and therefore, any running guerrilla group has sleeper cells. And these are some of the sleeper cells operating across our country, wanting to harm our people. I just want to say the Ugandans must be vigilant. Ugandans must reject this type of scoring, cheap popularity of killing other people or by bombing other places of worship, whether a mosque, whether a church, whatever it is. We are all people who can resolve this conflict. But as I was saying, the main problem of where insecurity comes from is Congo, is DRC Congo. Until we stabilize DRC Congo, until the government in Congo is serious to make sure that there's stability in DRC Congo, we shall continue to have these problems coming back to our countries.
But Dr. Matsanga, apart from Rwanda, one of the countries accused of dabbling into the internal security of the DRC is Uganda. How do you think that plays into all that we're talking about?
Uganda has been invited officially by DRC Congo to pursue the ISIS and the other elements who cause insecurity into Congo. So Uganda is officially in Congo. It hasn't. There are no shortcuts on that. So there is no blame on Uganda for being in Congo, because it has signed an agreement with the Congolese government to come and flush out the rebels that come from that place to come and kill our people. So that is not a matter for discussion.
Yeah.
Whether it is Rwanda or yes, let me make my statement first. Congo is surrounded by 9 countries. All the 9 countries it is not only Uganda. 9 countries. All the neighbors of Congo, including the Congo government itself, is not sincere. They are not sincere. Until the stakeholders in the Congo conflict, my dear brothers and sisters watching me on this, I'm always frank and I talk my mind. Until the stakeholders in the Congo conflict are themselves sincere and they come out and say who arms these rebels, who even the Congo government itself has rebels that they arm to fight against other rebels. So how are you going to sort this matter? So, down as Africans, make sure that we don't throw blame. Congo invited Uganda into Congo to pursue the rebels of ADF.
But
that is an
Dr.
agreement.
Matsanga, it could be argued, Dr. Matsanga, it could be argued that the resources that Uganda is devoting to support the Congolese government, as you put it, DRC, for their own internal security, would be better deployed in protecting Uganda. Last month or 2 months ago, there was an attack in another part of Uganda where several civilians were killed. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, it's the same part of the country where the rebels come from Congo. The terrorists, the Islamists come from Congo to come and kill our people. The point here is this. Uganda has gone to pursue, to wipe out the bases so that there are no supply lines. And therefore, just like any rebel activities or terrorist units, they have sleeper cells. And some of these sleeper cells, any security expert will tell you, they sleep in or they sleep and wait. So this one in Kampala, the security agencies have been following them and they got them. And more will be caught. Uganda security agencies on this one, they have been very, very, very alert on certain things. And we let the people of Uganda help them to get rid of some of these elements that can come mercilessly to kill people.
Dr. What else needs to be done to avoid a recurrence of this attempt to bomb a church, other religious centers, for that matter, and indeed other vulnerable spots, this mass bombings that we can see in these vulnerable spots? What specifically would you say other things need to be done to prevent it happening in the future?
I think in conflict resolution, of which I am an expert, I will tell you, you need 3 things. You need the mind, the heart, and the stomach. What do these people who want to kill, what do they want? What does Al-Shabaab, what does Boko Haram, what do they want? And what is our aim? What do we want to do to bring about peace? If the people have the 3 components, then we can have a discussion and create what we call a redemption strategy, the healing process, accountability, reconciliation. What is it? But now in the case of if you don't know whom to negotiate with, In the case of LRA, there were people to negotiate with. The commanders were on the ground. They were willing to meet us. And some of us went there. We thought we could not come back alive. But we went and met them and came back alive. So what is it that the ADF would like to do, to be done, so that people in Uganda, the government, the world can come and say, okay, what is your point? What is it that Boko Haram wants? What is it what Al-Shabaab wants? They don't tell you. They only come and bomb you. So there are ways that we can sit down on the table. There are ways that we can negotiate. We have negotiated before.
Much. Yeah, Doctor, thank you.
The Northern Uganda conflict is over. Yes.
Thank you so much. It's heartwarming to know you were part of the negotiations that brought an end to decades-long conflict right there with the Lord's Resistance Army. Thank you so much for your time, Africa Affairs Analyst, Dr. David Matsanga.
Thank you very much. I was the chief negotiator and the chairman of the peace delegation, not a combatant. So therefore, I brought peace, and I want to thank President Museveni and the rest of the people who agreed to sign those agreements. Our nation is peaceful. My people returned home. They have dignity. I'm proud for having taken part in those negotiations.
Yes, as you should be, as you should be. Dr. David Matsanga, thank you very much for your time.